Hey, sixth grade. I'm here on my phone, just practicing texting some coronavirus pickup lines. Let me know what you think about this one. Hey, babe, you need some toilet paper? One ply? Two ply? How about neither? The only thing I want from you is your reply. Oh, nice. Okay, good. Um, so we are on our lessons on the resurrection. We've already done Mark's resurrection. We're going to do Matthew's. Matthew's resurrection, just like Mark's, is very brief. Um, and Luke's and John's are quite a bit longer. So let's get into it now. All right, so Matthew's resurrection is from Matthew chapter 28, which is a very short chapter in Matthew's gospel. And it's like a very simple, like Mark's, it's a very simple description of what happens with the resurrection. So Mary Magdalene and other women are going to Jesus' tomb. Matthew doesn't tell us why they're going to Jesus' tomb, but he does say that when they get there, they're met by an angel who has rolled back the stone. So it says, for an angel of the Lord descended from heaven and came and rolled back the stone and sat upon it. His appearance was like lightning, and for fear of him the guards trembled and became like dead men. So when Mary Magdalene and the other women arrive at the tomb, they see that the stone has been rolled away, and there's an angel who is just sitting on top of the stone that he rolled away. Right? And Matthew tells us that the guards are so scared of the angel, they're like dead men. Right? So what's kind of interesting about this scene is that it suggests that Jesus actually resurrected before the angel rolled away the stone. So if that's true, then that means the guards were guarding an empty tomb, which shows just kind of how weak the power of the Roman Empire and the Jewish leaders were at this time compared to the power of God. The fact that the guards become like dead men because they're so scared shows that they really have no power at all. All right. Some of the guard went into the city and told the chief priests all that had taken place. And when they had assembled, they gave a sum of money to the soldiers and said, "Tell people his disciples came by night and stole him away while we were asleep." All right. So after the guards see the angel move the stone away from the tomb, they go into the city of Jerusalem and they tell the Jewish leaders, yeah, we were supposed to guard the tomb, but this angel came and the angel rolled away the tomb and the tomb was empty. Right? And so the Jewish leaders are really disturbed to hear this. And rather than believing in the resurrection, what they decide to do is bribe the guards to tell a lie. So they give the guards a bunch of money and say, "Go tell people that when you guys were asleep, his apostles came and they stole Jesus away." Now, St. Augustine points out that this is a really dumb argument that the Jewish leaders were making. Even at the time that Matthew was writing his gospel, the Jewish leaders were still claiming that Jesus didn't rise from the dead, that his followers stole Jesus' body from the guards because the guards were asleep. Right? Now, that doesn't make much sense for a couple reasons. Number one, Matthew's already told us that these guards are like dead men. Right? So the guards themselves are willing to take bribes, are like dead men. They're not trustworthy. Right? And by contrast, the women, when they see the angel, at first they're afraid, but then they react with joy, and then they see Christ himself along the way. So their testimony is strong. So you have the strong testimony of the women contrasted with the weak testimony of the guards. And then, of course, obviously, if the guards are asleep when the apostles and disciples allegedly rolled away the stone and stole him, then how do they know that's what happened? Because they themselves said they were asleep. Right? That doesn't make any sense. If they were asleep, they could not have known what had happened. So St. Augustine and others have pointed out that this explanation makes no sense. All right. Now the 11 disciples went to Galilee, and when they saw him, they worshiped. So the disciples' reaction is that they worship God. They worship Jesus when they see him. And this shows the significance of the resurrection, because anyone who has the power to resurrect themselves from the dead must be God. Only God could do this. And so therefore, if somebody resurrects themselves from the dead, then they are deserving of worship. Right? Now, this is different than other people in the Bible, like Lazarus, who were resurrected by an outside force. Right? Jesus raises Lazarus from the dead. Right? It's by the power of God that Lazarus is raised from the dead. But Jesus, by his own power, resurrects himself. Right? So this is evidence that Jesus is God. God the Father did not resurrect Jesus. Rather, it was the entire Trinity, the second person of the Trinity included, that resurrected Jesus. So Jesus raised himself from the dead. And this shows once and for all that Jesus is who he says he is. He's the Messiah, the second person of the Trinity. All right, finally, all authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Go therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them, teaching them, and lo, I am with you always. So Jesus says that he has all authority in heaven and on earth. This means that he possesses omnipotence, right, which is a fancy word for a divine attribute of God. It means that he is all powerful. Right? He has power over all creation. He can do anything. He has all the power in heaven and on earth. This power belongs only to God. So the fact that Jesus says that he has this means that, once again, Jesus is making it perfectly clear that he is God. And the authority that he gives to the church in this universal apostolic mandate, remember he tells them to go baptize and teach all nations, this comes from his omnipotence. So the authority that the church has to baptize and to teach and to proclaim the gospel comes directly from God's omnipotence. So the power of the church flows out of God's omnipotence. So the power of the church is to baptize and to teach. But the church also has other powers mentioned in other parts of the Gospels, right? And these all come from God's omnipotence. All right, that's it for Matthew. The videos on Luke and John are going to be a little bit longer, so I just wanted to do Matthew today. We'll do Luke and John later this week.